them for Christmas after disowning me over 8 years ago. Need advice on whether to go or not to go? After being disowned 8 years ago, my family has invited me, my wife, 27 female and daughter, one female for Christmas after getting conflicted advice from my friends. One of my buddies told me to post my dilemma here to see what random internet strangers would say. As the youngest among four siblings, I am a 26-year-old male. My mother is a 51-year-old female and my father is a 53-year-old male. Among my siblings, there are Michael, a 30-year-old male, Sarah, a 27-year-old female, and my twin brother Carl, who is 26 years old. It is important to note that my family is predominantly made up of athletes. Consequently, I have always felt like the odd one out while growing up. My dad was a star basketball player for Adidas in school. My mom played volleyball. Michael played soccer, Sarah played softball, and Carl was the star running back for the football team. I was never really interested in any of those physical sports, but rather, I was interested in archery, which my family called a wimpy sport. My parents were always invested in my siblings and rarely ever attended my events, to the point where I basically had to beg for them to come to my tournaments between the ages of 14 to 16. While my parents only attended one of the approximately 20 tournaments I participated in, I never felt neglected by them. However, unlike my siblings, they were never emotionally present for me. As a teenager, it bothered me that whenever I tried to discuss this with them, they dismissed me as an attention seeker. Nevertheless, this is not the sole reason why I felt isolated within my own family. When I was 15, I began dating Amy, now 25, female, who was in the same grade as me at that time. After about 6 to 7 months of dating, I introduced her to my folks. Admissible things, and they really liked her. I know I was young, but I could see myself having a future with her. Almost 3 years later, one of Amy's ex-friends told me that she had been cheating on me for a couple of months at a time. I didn't know who the guy was, but after confronting her, she told me that it was my twin brother. She basically told me that while at first she loved me, the love she had for my brother surpasses that. Later that day, when I confronted Carl at home, I was so enraged that I sucker pushed him and knocked him out. Although I acknowledge my wrongdoing in resorting to violence, after years of pent-up anger towards him and the rest of the family, it all finally erupted. Thankfully, my family chose not to pursue legal action, sparing me from being tried as an adult in court. Consequently, I was sent to reside with my paternal aunt, a 48-year-old woman who had become estranged from the family and resided in a city approximately 2 hours away. From then on, I have not had any contact with them. At first it was tough, but later on, with support from my aunts and her husband at 48 male, it moved on from wanting a relationship with them. I transferred to a different high school and attended a university in my aunt's city and graduated as an electrical engineer. I later met my wife and got married to her name at the time of my wedding. Thought about inviting them, but went against it because I did not want any sort of drama to my wedding from that point. Me and my wife bought a house an hour away from my ends and were blessed with a daughter a year ago. About a week ago, I received a Facebook message from a mother and father wanting to reconnect over Christmas at their house. I told them that I would consider it as I possibly have other plans, but would give them a clear answer soon. Later on, both Michael and Sarah sent me friend requests, which felt weird to me. My wife has told me that if I decided to go, she and my daughter would spend Christmas at my father-in-law's house, as she does not have to deal with unwanted stress, as she is 2 months pregnant. I concur with her viewpoint. Those who are reading this, I am uncertain about whether I should make an attempt to mend my relationship with my family or not. I am deeply conflicted about which course of action to pursue. On one side, there is a possibility that they regret their actions towards me and wish to offer an apology. On the other hand, if I do go, they might insist that I apologize to Carl, which is something I am unwilling to do. Any advice would be helpful. Now, for the top advice before reading the update, I think you should go another time. Spend Christmas with your wife and child. Visit your family at a less stressful time to see if they have any ulterior motives. It might just be about them wanting to see their grandchildren and not so much about you, which would be hurtful to you. Yeah, I agree. Go another time else thinking the same thing. It could be something related to the grandkids. Spend Christmas with your wife, a child. Christmas is too big of an event to meet them. Also update us. I can't get this post out of my hand. I can't imagine a parent's kicking out their child who was betrayed by their other child. They might want to reconnect due to money. Grandchild? I don't know. But it's weird that even his siblings texted Opie. I hope it's for good reasons, though. I honestly would spend Christmas away from my pregnant wife for them. Maybe I'm missing something, but why Christmas? They could have reached out at any time and given you a chance to pick a convenient time as they're the ones trying to amend things. I'm not sure about it. It appears strange to me. Personally, I wouldn't go unless you truly desire to have them back in your life. It's all about appearances. They discovered that Opie has a child and is doing well, and now they are attempting to mend the family so they don't appear like a disgrace. Remember, they abandoned their son many years ago. It feels like a deceptive situation. It's worth noting that they didn't start with any regret or indication of an apology. They want something: money-free work, an organ, access to your babies, or just to look good to their friends. I'm not saying don't go, but keep your expectations low. Be ready for the "we need you to do X for us in order to properly reconcile" speech and have a quick exit prepared. I don't know. As a parent, I cannot fathom going no contact with one of my children for 8 years after my other child did something so cruel to him. So he hit him. That is just inconceivable to me. Now, totally understand if my son hit his brother. If he ever did something like that, may be wrong. And I know I'm not supposed to say that, but we're all still human. Whether you can move past the fact they abandoned you to your arms and turned their backs for 8 years is your choice. But personally, I don't know if I could. If you can't and don't want to see them again, I doubt anyone would blame you. If they do, they don't know the full story. If they do know the full story, then they're not worth your time either. And now for the update. I wanted to post earlier, but some things got in the way. My wife started experiencing excruciating pain in her abdomen area just 2 days after Christmas, making it almost impossible for her to stand. Her sister, a 30-year-old woman, and I rushed her to the hospital. It was there that we received the devastating news that my wife had endured a miscarriage, requiring immediate removal of the fetus. The most difficult task for me was honestly explaining the complications surrounding the operation to my wife. My wife was forced to stay for 2 more days. Honestly, I have been trying to stay strong for my wife and my daughter, but honestly, I'm struggling right now. Also, the updates of the original post. Most of you that commented on the same day post had told me not to spend Christmas with them because of the significance of that holiday. I agree and decided I would spend the rest of the holidays with my wife. They never made time for me, so why should I make time for them? When I texted them this, I assumed they would try to argue with me, but rather they said they respected my opinion and could not wait to see me after the holidays. I began to do some digging into my family to try to figure out why they have reached out. Michael is a corporate lawyer who works for a major company in my hometown. But looking through his Facebook page, she has 2 daughters and was married to his wife in 2016. Sarah appears to be married to a doctor. She herself, 8 years ago, is studying to be a nurse, and they have a son together. I have a friend who lives in my hometown and has parents who are friends with my parents. When I asked her about Sarah, she told me that Sarah had divorced her first husband, the one she was dating 8 years ago after he had committed mail fraud. Carl got married to Amy Wise after high school, and they have 2 kids together. I cannot exactly figure out what he or his wife does for a living through Facebook, but judging that they bought a big house last year in the midst of a pandemic tells me they are not really struggling. My dad seems to be going through a midlife crisis, and my mother is really into the wellness community and then began to list the reasons of why they wanted to possibly reach out to me now. It is highly unlikely that money is the reason why I am not receiving financial assistance, as my parents had a higher combined salary than my wife and I did 8 years ago. Additionally, considering that my siblings are not experiencing financial struggles, further supports this notion. While organ donation could potentially be a factor, it does not seem probable. However, a commenter mentioned the possibility that Carvel, being my twin, would be the most likely match for me. Despite this, I find it unlikely due to the fact that he was recently tagged in a Facebook post scheme shortly before Christmas. 3. Regarding my daughter, they could possibly be reaching out to me to have a relation to my daughter, but I honestly am not sure. My daughter is not the first granddaughter for my parents, so I do not know why they want to meet her. The most likely found out my daughter existed because my wife's Facebook account was public. She has since private on her account, but then contacted my aunt. These changed, Wanted took me in informing her about the situation, and she explained to me why they were reaching out to me after all this time to understand the situation. You need to understand why my aunt was estranged. My paternal grandpa, 79 male, and grandmom, 76 female, had 4 children. My dad was the second oldest, and my aunt's was the third. My aunt, after college, came out to her parents as bisexual and began dating her girlfriend. My grandparents immediately disowned her and refused to have any contact with her. However, about 4 years ago, my grandpa began to reach out. About a month ago, my grandpa had been asking about me and what I was doing in life, and whether I was married or had kids. My aunt responded by calling my grandpa out for wanting to know about me after he supported Carl for what he did. That is when the whole situation changes. My grandpa told my aunt that it's because I had cheated on Amy with one of her close friends. so I deserve to be estranged. My grandpa is a religious nut, so he looks down on cheating. He had been told by my family that after Different, who I allegedly cheated with, confessed to Amy. She wanted Carl and Sarah for support and comfort. But when I found out about this, I confronted and brutally attacked Carl and Sarah. While Sarah was the one who tried to break me and Carl apart, I did not lay a finger on her, and I did not do that to Carl. As my aunt shared this with me, I was completely taken aback. I couldn't fathom the extent of their hatred towards me, as they resorted to fabricating a massive and dreadful falsehood about me, which they spread far and wide. My aunt later disclosed the whole truth to Grandpa, including what had actually transpired. When she informed me that Grandpa was astonished because he had always held a positive opinion of Carl, it further shocked me. My grandma, but then asked my aunt for my number, which she declined to give. It figured out why my parents and siblings wanted to get in touch with me. It turns out my grandpa had told my parents and my siblings that if they did not apologize for what they did to me and have me over for the family Christmas dinner, they would be cut off from his will. For context, he is a multimillionaire, so that is why they reached out to me not to apologize about how they all wronged me in the past, but rather because if they did not, they would not get anything from Grandpa. What a bunch of greedy people. After hearing about this from my aunt, I decided to block all of them. Why should I respond to them? At this point, all of them are dead to me. I have a wife to support after what she went through at a family that respects me and my in-laws. However, this does not end here. As 3 days after New Year's Eve, I received a call from an unknown number in my work phone. Due to my profession, I've grown accustomed to receiving calls from unfamiliar numbers. However, when I answered this particular call, I was surprised to hear my grandfather's familiar voice. It is highly likely that he obtained my contact information from my company's website. Without delay, he began by expressing his regrets for not making an effort to reach out to me in the past 8 years. He sincerely apologized for his absence during significant occasions such as my graduation, wedding, and the birth of my daughter. I was not really close to him before, so him cutting me off did not bother me. Later in a call, he told me he was so disgusted with the rest of my family that he is cutting them off his will and adding me to it. I honestly do not know how to feel about that, as do many would be helpful, but at the same time, I do not want him to use those as a way to force a relationship between me and my daughter. We talked for about half an hour. The way to call once made me think that perhaps I could build a good relationship with my grandpa. But then he told me something that got me really pissed. He told me that he was disappointed and that my daughter had not taken a family name for context. After I got married to my wife, the issue of what last name to use as a couple came up. For some legal reasons, I was unable to change my last name to my wife's last name, but we decided as a couple that all of our future children would have her last name. I, at this point, unloaded on my grandpa, calling him is senile old man and many other hurtful things and told him to never contact me ever again. After everything I've endured, I refuse to allow this man to use his boldness as an excuse. I won't let the money I inherited control me. Even if I do receive the funds, I intend to donate them to a nearby charitable organization. However, considering his history of deceit, it's highly improbable. These recent weeks have been incredibly challenging, but I'm determined to overcome them. My wife has private at her Facebook account, and my in-laws have done the same, but they do. To try to contact me is beyond me. How they would probably hire a private detective to try to find me. I believe they do not know where I live. But you never know. I've thought to get a restraining order, but given that there are lawyers within a family means getting a restraining order will be hard. I did not really get any time to answer any questions given in my last post before it was deleted for some reason. I will do my best to answer any questions for the next day or two, but after this, I'm done using the site for a while. Thank you for all your advice that I wish you all the best in this new year. I'm so sorry for your loss, Obi. I can't begin to imagine the pain you and your wife must be experiencing right now. Your family is just absolutely chock full of some of the worst a house have ever heard of, and the effing audacity of them as a matched. They do not deserve any more of your energy. Screw them all. I sincerely hope that further pursuit from them will cease, allowing you to concentrate on your family and the comfort of your home. Thank you for providing us with updates, and I will keep your family in my thoughts. I offer my apologies for your loss, and I genuinely hope for a swift recovery for your wife. Your family has been facing a challenging few weeks, but please don't allow those individuals to affect you. I have to say, besides Grandpa's awful comments about the last name, at least the truth is out to make those people look bad, Grant, but can keep the money if it comes your way before you do something. Think about it. When you are calm, you chose good people to be family. Your wife, daughter, in-laws. At end, they're all that matter her. The others can go to hell. I'm sorry for what you've been through and for the loss of your child. Remember, you have supports and a family that loves you. You are wanted and loved by them. Even if your parents and siblings aren't those people, you are not alone. Seek professional supports and help for yourself and your wife. It's a lot you've gone through. Regrettably, the new variant has caused a delay. Sharing the burden with your grandfather might have persuaded him to disregard your aunt's claims and provide your family with their rightful inheritance, particularly because they attempted to portray your son as extremely troubled and emphasized any minor conflicts with him. It was understandable for you to feel offended, but he ultimately chose to harm you instead of resolving the issue. The guy must be old is going to have old-fashioned values. Did you try explaining that? It's something that's done in society nowadays? Or did you see red immediately? To be honest, you've had a really rough time of things, and I imagine that must have been the straw that broke the camel's back, right? I just figured you might want a fresh perspective. Much love to you, man. I really hope your missus gets better quickly and your 2022 improves quickly. To be honest, right now, I do not care how he sees me. I do not want to have a relationship with him on a basis on many. This may ruin the relationship my aunts and grandpa have, but to begin with, they never really had a relationship.